Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of BiblioTech On Air, BiblioTech's official podcast. I am Ruby.
And I'm Lewis.
And today we have Executive Director David Marquez and Director Deborah Carter from the Economic and Community Development to discuss their new initiative, Texas-Mexico Automotive Supercluster, TMASC for short. Thank you guys for joining us today and for talking about this new initiative. We love having you here.
Great. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit, would you like to discuss what the Texas-Mexico Automotive Supercluster initiative is?
Sure. Well, we call it TMASC for short. And it's actually not new, but we have just recently updated it. We actually began this initiative probably, 15 years ago now. We received the great gift of a Toyota plant in Bexar County in 2005. That was just an amazing shift in our economy. And that's when we created the Economic Development Office for the first time. So I've been running it ever since, although Deborah does an amazing job now serving as the director. Mm-hmm. So back in that day, there was a lot of questions. Why did Toyota pick Bexar County? Mm-hmm. It's so far south from the normal automotive manufacturing clusters around the United States. Mm-hmm. There's clusters around the Great Lakes. There's clusters in the Midwest. There's clusters in the Southeast, but Texas doesn't really have a cluster. Mm-hmm. And so one evidence of that is that they brought with them their own supplier park. Mm-hmm. So this is the only Toyota plant, I believe, in the world that has an on-site supplier park. And there are now 23 other manufacturers. Some of them, if they came on their own, we would be thrilled. Mm-hmm. But most people don't even know about great companies like Avanzar and Reyes Automotive and others, Optex, and others that are on the site that employ thousands of people. But they need suppliers also. So one thing about this industry is that it's a very regional, as I just described other regions. Mm-hmm. So we started looking at our Texas region, and that caused us to look at where we would be connected to. And so that's the origin of TMASC.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I know you kind of touched on a little bit just because they've got clusters just kind of other places in the country. And we wanted to bring it down here as well, just so we had kind of that spread. But was there anything else that inspired the creation of TMASC?
Yeah, weirdly, I was at an automotive supply chain conference in Detroit, Michigan. I went with a former colleague of mine. And flying back, we kept talking about that. We kept talking about, well, I can see the region here. I can see that people are building cars in Michigan, but they're getting supplies from Canada or from Wisconsin or from Illinois, so states in their region. And I was just wondering what our region looked like. Mm-hmm. So initially I went to the internet and started looking and searching for automotive suppliers and manufacturing in Texas, and I didn't find very much. There's not much data, and what data is there says that we really don't have much of an industry in that space at that time. Mm-hmm. Other than Toyota, there was another General Motors plant, it still is, in Arlington, Texas. There used to be a General Motors plant just across the border in Louisiana, but it's long been closed now. And so everything else just talks about the United States, as if we were going to get our Toyota plant supplies from Canada. Mm-hmm. That's just not very likely. It turns out that for any final assembly facility, which is what we have at Toyota, you can draw a circle of about 400 miles, mm-hmm. and that's where the supplies, 80% of the components that go into a Toyota Tundra should come from within 400 miles. But in Texas, that just wasn't the case, mm-hmm. unless you look south. So 400 miles north, you're certainly into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You pick up Houston, et cetera. But looking south, it takes you into the heartland of Mexican industrial manufacturing, particularly around automotive, mm-hmm. with Monterrey and Saltillo and a suburb of Saltillo called Ramos Arizpe, where much of that manufacturing takes place. So that was the origin, looking at it in Michigan and then wondering how it worked in Bexar County.
Gotcha.
Nice.
And you said that was about like 15 years back by now?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Wow.
That we started looking at it. We did an initial study, mm-hmm. and then from there that we've been deriving strategies, including our workforce strategy, which is what Deborah Carter is now mm-hmm. Overseeing.
And so how are those tying in, the workforce strategy and this?
Well, the great thing about manufacturing and the growth of that industry in our community is that it brings really great career opportunities. Mm-hmm. Great career pathing where you can have lower barriers of entry to get your foot in the door, mm-hmm. prove your professional skill set, gain additional technical skill sets, and progress your career within manufacturing. So Suzanne Kazunas, who is the plant president here at TMMTX, I love her career pathing story. She started with Toyota as an intern and grew her career all the way up to where she is today. And so the potential is limitless. So the county's really leaned into this. Bexar County, our commissioner's court, has been extremely supportive of, okay, great. So we are attracting these manufacturers, their suppliers, these great careers and job opportunities to our community. But how do we also connect our Bexar County residents with the skill sets so that they can step into these wonderful organizations? And so we created a program called Texas Fast Track. It's a 10-week accelerated training program, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. We help our students provide them with the opportunity to be SA Ready to Work eligible and receive the resources through that and other grant funding if they don't qualify due to residency. But at the end of the 10-week program, what we found is that within 60 days of graduation, 86% of the alumni and graduates are going into full-time employment, and that's with paid time off and benefits included.
Wow.
So growing this supercluster is important, not only for employers and manufacturers to get the supply chain that they need, but for the Bexar County residents connecting with those employers and the career opportunities.
Yeah, it sounds like it's had a huge impact. That's
Yeah,
great.
definitely.
Yeah, I will point out the program is provided at no cost to the students and no cost to the employers. The county has been subsidizing this 100% for now. We see it really as business retention and expansion. So the whole idea of the cluster and the whole idea behind our fast track program is to grow the industry by focusing on those root causes of why the industry might not grow. So finding scarce talent, very important. That's why we're super proud of the Texas Fast Track program and others that we'll talk about in a little bit. And why we're proud of the strategy, because for our local companies to grow, they need their suppliers to be in nearby. So the cluster strategy posits that we can't support it all in Bexar County. We don't have the need for it.
Yeah.
And it's more properly spread out like everywhere else across 400 miles. So we put the study together so that places like the Valley, the border, Mexico, other parts of Texas could see themselves as part of a supply chain that feeds our plant, as well as the plant in General Motors in Arlington. But are there other plants? And so that's the next phase of growth, and we can talk about that.
That's awesome. You said at no cost.
Right. It's important in the world of economic development. It's very difficult to do what we call retention and expansion. So we're fantastic at bringing companies here. But really our effort and others around the community were founded when AT&T decided to leave San Antonio and go to Dallas. And you realize how difficult it is to make sure that you're supporting your existing companies.
Right.
So what we do from a retention and expansion perspective is to try to help them with their most sensitive problem. And for virtually every employer, county included, it's talent. It's finding and sourcing good talent. So that's why we put our primary emphasis for retention and expansion of the industry, whether they're here or not, by providing a sort of county-funded training program that helps. Also, the flip side of the coin is it helps our individuals here in our community who should be in these career pathways find a low barrier way to get in and advance their careers and find themselves in the middle class.
Yeah, that's very nice that you guys have really invested in not only the individual level, people who are talented and could use the opportunity to be able to go into a career and grow in that career, but also that you value local businesses and things like that. Like you said, AT&T moving up to Dallas, just kind of finding the importance of what can we keep here, what do we already have here, and how can we, keep people, like you said, that retention. That's fantastic. I'm glad that y'all are on such a good track with that.
Yeah, let's talk about one of our favorite companies in the entire universe, HEB. They are a massive employer, of course, our community, one of the largest. But they have a huge manufacturing presence in Bexar County that most people don't know about. We use the expression that we make, the tortilla chips at HEB and the computer chips at Tower Semiconductors. We have a wide range of manufacturing. But at HEB, they also struggle with this talent. Now, we're not trying to target HEB. They're already here. But to the extent we help them grow, that's important. But it's also important that if we give them access to talent, then there's less competition for that scarce talent with Toyota. So if I want Toyota to grow, and I want them to have all the talent they need, it's important that we meet the need across all of the manufacturing. So Deborah's program has a whole range of companies. How many companies do you have now, Deborah, participating with Fast Track or that have hired our Fast Track graduates?
Yeah, so we're looking about 18 different companies
Wow.
ranging in a
Nice.
variety of different sizes and environments. So as Mr. Marquez noticed, is that it's from the tortilla chip to the computer chip and everything in between. And so you can work for a smaller organization that has 50 or so employees all the way up to something as large as an HEB or Toyota and everything in between. So what we do during the Texas Fast Track experience is expose our students to 2 plant tours so that they can see the variety. And we also have guest speakers come in throughout that process as well.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is really about advanced manufacturing. We use the automotive one because of Toyota and because it's the easiest to sort of quantify. But across our community, everything from aerospace to just a whole range of other products that are made in Bexar County, solar panels at Mission Solar at Brooks. There's just a lot of opportunity for people. And I know because my own personal background started with manufacturing. I was a machinist way back in my early career, that it's a real opportunity for people in our community. And I want to help our Bexar County residents who struggle with finding their pathway into the middle class because maybe college isn't the right answer for them, or perhaps they made some bad decisions early in their life and they've got some background that they're dragging with them. Manufacturing is the ideal industry, and I would argue perhaps the only one that can, at scale, help people find their way into the middle class.
Right. So you said back 15 years ago when you were first looking at this, what does success look like for TMASC in 5 or 10 years or 15 years from now?
So the idea behind TMASC is this. The real driver for the industry is the final assembly facility. And in San Antonio at the time, we just had the Toyota Motor Manufacturing Plant. Well, when it opened, it was a $850 million investment and something like 1,500 jobs that they promised. And they're now going to be approaching $4 billion of investment and more coming, with thousands of jobs. At the Toyota plant site, there's something like 7,000 to 8,000 total jobs. So it's really, huge. But the idea of a supplier coming here, they can't just supply Toyota. So we want this strategy to help us find other final assembly facilities. So how have we done on that front? Well, we have the international plant, which was initially announced in their previous brand as Navistar. They went through an acquisition and went back to their original brand, International Motors. They have a plant just to the east of the Toyota plant that has hundreds of more jobs and many hundreds of millions of dollars of capital investment. They also brought their research and development facility for their products here. So when we're talking about manufacturing, we're not just talking about assembly level work. We're talking all the way to the most advanced research and development. They're doing all of their electric vehicle research out there. Their autonomous vehicle research is being done there. So it's both wide in terms of the types of careers and very deep in terms of the nature of the type of work that's done here. Our most recent win is the JCB. JCB is a company out of England that produces agricultural and mechanical equipment for industry. And they'll be bringing 1,480 jobs here with a $500 million investment right near the Toyota plant as well. And then recently, we were very grateful that Toyota chose us for what we call Project Iceberg, which is an axle manufacturing plant. That's another 400 manufacturing jobs and another $500 million in capital investment. I think that's right. That may be a little low. But across the region, the Tesla plant in Austin has brought to San Antonio and Bexar County a whole range of Tesla suppliers that we didn't even have to go recruit. They came here because this is where they need to be to support their primary, mothership plant, the Tesla plant. So we can see how that synergy works across a larger region. And if Austin got another plant, I would not consider it a loss. I would consider it a win because we're going to see our industry grow here, Seguin, New Braunfels, all around our area. That's the way this industry operates.
That's awesome.
Let me talk a little bit about the TMAS study itself. We recently redid it. We hired Accenture to come in and refresh. The first 2 times we used a very wonderful firm out of Austin called TIP Strategies. And this time we brought in Accenture to kind of validate. We hadn't done one in 10 years for reasons I don't need to go into, but we basically had outsourced it to another agency, and they didn't follow through with the study. And so we let it sit. But once JCB arrived, we thought, we really need to see where we stand across the region, all the way into Monterey and all the way up to Dallas. And so we now have in this region 14 originalists. The term of art in this industry is an OEM, original equipment manufacturer. So that's your General Motors or your Toyota.
Gotcha.
5 headquarters for OEMs in Texas, 16 assembly plants along with that. And so in the last few years, we've added 8 new assembly plants. Just since 2012, 4 of those headquarters derived in Texas. Across the whole region, there's a total of 311 supplier plants with 206,000 employees. So this is major industry. Most of them are located up and down 35. So Texas is a very big state, but to the west of us, there's not a whole lot. To the east, towards Houston, that's where the growth will occur, and up and down the 35 corridor, including all the way into Mexico. Monterey's been blowing up with advanced manufacturing, and there's just so much more potential for us to see growth across the region. That's what this study will show you. It's available on our website. I'm sure you can provide a URL link
Of course,
on the podcast, so we can have people. All the archive reports are there as well. It's really for me, data nerd. It's fascinating reading.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts happening. Like obviously that the regular patron of Bexar County doesn't know about, that like all the work that you guys are doing. There's a lot of moving parts. So I was like, how can we know more information about that or learn more about that research if we wanted to? And you just said it's available for us to go check out on that website.
Right. It's on our website. It's bear.org/TMASC, TMASC. And the workforce program is also out there with their website, TexasFastTrack.com. TXFastTrack.com, is that right?
Yeah, TXFastTrack.com. And I'd also like to note and highlight that women, please look into these career opportunities.
Please.
Yeah.
They're great career opportunities, and we've had several women graduate from the program and progress their careers through Texas Fast Track and other programs like Texas Fame, AMT, etc. Right now, in our region, we're sitting at about 27% females in manufacturing roles, and our goal is to increase that by 5% over the next 5 years. And in order to do so, everybody needs to participate. So we will be hosting our kickoff Women Make Bexar County initiative in partnership with Girls Inc., San Antonio Manufacturing Association, and many, many wonderful partners that are wanting to help lean in on what does this look like for our community? How do we get young girls K through 12 into STEM programs to really excite them about robotics and engineering and things of that nature? And then also, how do we look at some of the women that are like, hey, I missed the college opportunity, but I want to get into a fast track program and get accelerated into the program and maybe take advantage of tuition assistance after I have financial security, employment, and benefits. So women, highly encourage you to investigate this field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great to be able to kind of put that call out, especially in a more targeted way. You said with the Women Make Bexar County, just making sure that people, especially the women, know that like not only are we encouraging people to go into STEM, but also there are so many more opportunities than they may assume, no matter their background, no matter whether or not they can pay, because it's still through Fast Track. And I think that's incredible to not only highlight that, but also to make sure that we're pushing for people to realize that the opportunities are there, you know? And if I'm not mistaken, I had seen one of the flyers in regards to Texas Fast Track, and it's either 8% or 14% women graduates of the program.
Yes, you did your homework. We're sitting right at 14% of our alumni is female, and I would really like to see it at 50%, but I also realize that I need to be very realistic, and so a 5% increase would be something that we would celebrate, but we're going to celebrate any percentage of increase, but 5% is our target.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Thank you all so much for sharing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would remind you that the plant president of Toyota is a woman, and her career started at the entry level. So these are great careers for women, and the success stories that we have of the ones that we have had through the program are just so inspiring to hear and see how their lives have changed and how they maybe never envisioned themselves in this pathway. One of our candidates from another program that we support was at the HEB meat plant, I believe, and was working as just as an operator. Saw them installing some new equipment and got interested with just the idea of the equipment itself, and so went through our program, earlier iteration of it, and has advanced her career tremendously. So I don't know that you asked a great question. Awareness. That's why we're here. We need to do a lot more to make people aware when we're now talking about workforce issues across manufacturing with anyone. It's less about do we have the talent, can we get them, than it is about how do we make more people aware. So we really want to raise that flag as high as we can.
I mean, you guys are doing a great job. Like, I see the flyers everywhere. Y'all are posted up everywhere. The fact that you guys even come out to talk with us on the podcast to bring more awareness. I love that you guys work well with, like, it feels like all departments, like with us as well. Just y'all are really trying to get that word out there. And I thank y'all for including us in this awareness journey. Well,
you guys rock. We, I mean, to be fair, you have a maker's lab right next door to where we're sitting right now. Those are really a critical part. Again, we're in the process of chasing some big additional company growth here in manufacturing. And so we talk about all aspects of the pipeline because we can't just provide them with their day one workforce. They're going to be here for 50 years and they want to see what we're doing. So BiblioTech, all of the STEM work you're doing, the makerspace work that you're doing, all of that is absolutely and critically a part of this and getting better, particularly to the extent we can get more young girls and young ladies into those programs. We're big fans.
Oh, we're big fans. Was there anything else that we didn't get to touch on that you wanted to add?
Well, I appreciate that you brought up, how we're wanting to make awareness around manufacturing, and we're investing some time and effort into our Texas Fast Track social media channels through LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, etc. So if you could follow us, or if you're listening online, if you could follow us, like our pictures, encourage the students as they're going through, as they make different achievements and we highlight those, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and then somebody out there has a neighbor, that young person who hasn't quite figured out their pathway. And the only way that's normally pushed for them is college. And there are certainly college pathways in manufacturing, but a lot of these careers can start them off in something that's a little more attuned to what they're interested in and maybe financially where they are to start off. Because we talked about our program being free, but there are a range of very important programs like Ready to Work that can provide funding, Alamo Promise and others. So there's no impediment as far as funding goes for someone to get into this field. Everything from our program, which has a lot of, as Deborah mentioned, a lot of supportive funding provided through Project Quest and Ready to Work and other things. So we're all in on trying to get people into these careers because in our community, this is the way we can actually help people rise out of poverty and other challenges that they find themselves in.
Definitely.
Exciting, huh?
Very exciting. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Do you want a job in manufacturing?
I'll look into it.
Certainly take you to the fast track assessment program.
Yeah, definitely. So once again, thank you guys for coming on and talking with us and sharing this with us. I mean, we want to get the word out there as much as possible. All these wonderful opportunities that y'all are providing for the residents of Bexar County. Thank you once again.
Y'all coming on board is much appreciated today. Honestly, I personally went into this with just not a lot of knowledge on this field whatsoever. And it's good to know that we have so many people like yourselves who are working so hard to make sure that people are aware of the opportunities that are at their fingertips.
Yeah, there's no other purpose for economic development in our community. If we're not creating the jobs that fit the needs of our individuals for whom that need that career pathway, then we're missing out. I will point out Deborah graduates 12 people. It'll soon be 14 every quarter. And has a graduation. When's your next graduation, Deborah?
Friday, June 13th at 1 p.m. at Brooks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I would certainly hope you guys would be there. You can see the impact we have as families come out, and this is life changing.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. And again, we're not really a workforce program; we're an economic development program. So you'll see the companies that are there ready to hire our graduates, or
That's
our free
awesome.
agents, as Deborah calls them.
That's
once
awesome.
released. So it's real time. People could get one of our graduates. This last graduation, which just happened a week ago, was made an offer that day, and I saw his hiring company guy out in the car calling.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he got a job that
That's
day,
fast.
and probably making $50,000-$60,000 a year.
Wow.
So
incredible.
These
That's
are
very
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, once
you,
again,
Love.
thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of BiblioTech on Air. Once again, I am Ruby.
I'm Lewis.
And today we had the wonderful David Marquez and Deborah Carter. Check us out for social media updates. Again, all those websites linked, definitely check them out. And we'll see you next time.